Afraid to love again. Maybe there was some heartbreak. I get it. We've all been there. But if you're ready to love again, you're in the right place at the right time. And this episode is for you on It's Scary to Remarry. Today's guest is a first time guest, and I'm excited. We have crossed paths literally. And we had a chance to talk on Instagram. And so this has been a long time coming, the episode that I've been waiting for. Today's guest is a licensed professional counselor based in Dallas, Texas. Shout out to Texas. I'm in Austin. She currently works both in the group practice and in a private practice, where she has the privilege of supporting children, teens, adults, and families through life's challenges. Originally from Mississippi, she's called Dallas home for the past 20 years. She values connection, balance, and personal growth, both in her work and in her own life outside of counseling. She loves spending time with family and friends, exploring the outdoors, enjoying the beauty of water views, and taking peaceful nature walks. Brave Hearts community, let's show some love to Chandrika Amos. How are you doing this evening, Chandrika? I am great. Thank you once again for being a guest on this segment. And today's topic is healing secrets for those afraid to love again. Great topic. So I want to jump into this topic. So, what are some early signs that someone hasn't fully healed before dating again?
You want me to answer first? Okay. I think some of the early signs is approach. When you meet someone, I think how you approach the situation is indicative of your healing process. If we're meeting day 1 and day 2, we're already planning weddings and moving in together, I think that's a sign that maybe the healing process hasn't begun or is still in the process. I do believe in some levels of love at first sight. However, I do think there's a foundation that has to be set. And when we avoid that foundation, might be signs of us trying to fill in a void, us trying to overcome some levels of rejection or abandonment or not feeling loved or appreciated in other areas of our lives or other relationships that we're trying to just dive into in the new relationship, or having someone fill in those voids very early on. I think that's one key sign, and I think we shouldn't shy away from asking the necessary questions in fear that those questions will run people off.
Yeah, because I believe that's a fear of a lot of people, that asking those tough questions can run someone off. And I mean, it could be somebody, she's probably liking this guy, but he's 6'2",
Right.
he doesn't have any children, and he makes, and so she might be a little, and guys too, there's no gender bias, but I do think we do avoid those tough questions on purpose. When in actuality, when you do talk about them in its infancy stages, that kind of lets you know where you stand.
Yeah. Yeah. And it helps you not only build a foundation, like I said, but be very, very, very in touch with what your expectations and boundaries are. And boundaries and expectations can be two different things, because I should be aware of what your expectations are of me and vice versa. And you should be aware of what the boundaries are. And when we move so fast to fill these voids because we're not healed, then we miss the mark. And that honeymoon phase is really short.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Especially with today and dating. But I realize too, though, in this day and age that we live in, I mean, we have people in therapy. We are aware of all these clinical terms, even though a lot of times people might not use them in its correct space. I'm
Right.
thinking, should that make dating a little easier?
No.
No?
I mean, maybe, but I know. I don't even think it makes marriage easier. I'm not married, but I do a lot of family counseling, and the biggest issue, probably the number one issue, is communication. That comes out. Let me rephrase it. That comes to me is communication, and it's always those barriers that were present very early on, but we kind of pushed them to the side because we didn't want to have those conversations, or it was easier to sweep it under the rug. And now you're 5 years in having conversations about something that happened 5 years ago.
Mm.
Uh, you would think, but not always.
Yeah. Yeah, it happens. Because I was going to ask, and I think we touched on this, is why do so many people fear opening up after heartbreak?
Vulnerability, heartbreak is tough. It's hard, and it's hard to maneuver through. It's hard to really separate where the lessons learned versus the shattered feelings. Uh, so it's the vulnerability. It's trying to avoid opening up and that fear of it not working out. And that comes with anything. That comes with new relationships, new careers,
Yeah.
new whatever. There is always this possibility that it won't work, but that fear. And a good point from the first question is when going into these situations, we need to make sure we're not letting fear also rule our decision making. Because when we're operating out of fear, then we're losing sight of making good judgment.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, because those fear-based decisions will have you, all over the place.
Yeah.
You look back a couple of years later and you thinking, I could have did this or I could have done that. Um, but I know for me in my own personal life, and that's just something that I had to realize because I was like, I lived a lot of my life in fear from the neighborhood that I grew up in to the household that I grew up in. And so a lot of decisions were just like to keep me safe. But then I realized when I got older, I was like, oh, this is why certain things not working because they're fear-based decisions, and not faith-based decisions or trusting God and knowing that He got me.
Oh, that's that. Uh, you're preaching now. You're speaking a word, especially that's a whole nother topic, but especially if you feel like the faith part of it is taking too long,
Hmm.
and you've been waiting, and something shows up and it feels right. It's like, okay, well, I need to act on this right now.
Hmm. Yeah, because a lot of times people, making those fear-based decisions, I mean, you'll be scratching your head, you know, I don't believe I did that. Yeah, you did it.
Yeah, you did it. You did it. You did it, and you said it.
I know, right? How can someone tell the difference between healthy caution and emotional walls?
Asking yourself questions that I think we often shy away from, and that is like, what are your needs? Like, are your needs being met? What are your wants? Uh, what is this decision rooted in? And I know a lot of this feels like very therapeutic, but like you really have to be in touch with that
Yes.
because it goes back to the fear. Like if you're operating out of fear, or you're operating out of timelines, or you're operating out of society's opinions, then we're going into various parts of different areas of just unhealth.
Mhm.
But I think when you can really be honest with what it is that you're looking for, what your needs are, what you feel like you can bring, can't bring, having those real conversations, I think you're operating healthy.
Mhm.
Precaution is when everything is questionable, like everything.
Mm.
which goes back to maybe we're not completely healed when we're questioning everything. Now, I think there are levels where we do need to make sure we're protecting ourselves. But if I have to question you, telling me you ate McDonald's today, and I'm like, is that the truth? Then what am I? I'm operating. Is that precaution, or is just fear, or is it? What is it? So I think at that point I need to stop and ask myself, you know, where is this coming from? Why do I feel like I have to be this guarded? Why do I feel like I have to protect myself to this degree? Is it because I truly don't know this person, or am I really not comfortable with trusting myself with making these decisions? And if I can't really trust myself or let go or be free to like love again, then maybe I'm not completely in a place where I'm ready to be in a relationship.
I want to ask you about, where does not trusting yourself come from?
Doubt, fears, others, opinions, but mainly doubt. But doubt can be rooted in so many different places, or the root of doubt can come from so many different. So I really think it's just doubt, like, decision making, uh, outside noise. You present this grand idea that you feel like is a great idea, and then someone say, 50 million people are already doing it. I met a really nice guy, and then you say, you may want to check him out because, he talked to everybody. Like, it's rooted. There's the root. There's the root. So now everything I'm operating out of this outside noise that's, in the back of my head.
And so I guess that's the importance of, I mean, now family, you can't choose your family. I mean, you're
Yeah.
born with who you're born with.
Yeah.
But I think it's important too to have those circle of people who are help you build your faith, because you can have a lot of negative people in your life that you might be in close proximity with, and like you say, they telling you things, and now you
Yeah.
start to doubt yourself. And so that community is important, and words are so powerful.
Oh, beyond. I live by, we used to hear when we were younger that sticks and stones may break your bones, but words that never hurt you. That is the biggest lie that you could ever tell a child, because words will penetrate sometimes a lot deeper than any stick. If I can have sessions and ask someone what happened yesterday, they have no idea, but I can ask them what happened in 1985, and it's like they regurgitate, like, they can tell me from sunlight to sundown what happened, because somebody said something that day that they still carrying on their shoulders present day. So words are very.
Yeah, it's almost like some wood or something that's stuck in your soul. It's like you just
Yeah.
never were able to remove that piece. Like you said, you could, because I can remember my bully name. I can remember his name. I could tell
Oh
you his
yeah.
name. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just like, how do I
Yeah.
remember this dude name? Like,
Oh, yeah, yeah. You work through those traumas forever. I can tell you now what somebody said about me in 10th grade, and I've been out of high school for many years, and I can literally tell you that. So, and that I think you just have to. That goes back to the first or second question. Being aware of that. I know that is something that is still a part of my healing process. You can't. I can't expect someone to come in my life and remove that. I have to already be aware that that's a struggle point for me. It might be some deeper rooted, like self esteem issues or something that I need to be healed and whole and well. So when I come in this, I'm not expecting you to fix that,
yeah,
because then that goes back to that expectation. And in most cases, we're not signing up to heal a person.
it's like
So,
an unspoken language, huh? It's like we get into
right.
a relationship, but the fine print says
Hmm.
you to help fix me.
Right. And that's a good part, because I do think the love can be healing.
Yes.
But expecting it to just fix and heal you, that's just no. It's unfair to the person to put that on them.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think like magically I could see when people are going down to the altar and they're about to get married, I just I just kind of see these garbage bags. You know,
Mm,
they just carrying these garbage. You know, she's bringing her garbage with her, and he's bringing his garbage, and they just both throw it on the altar and be like,
yeah. The bag lady.
"You gonna miss it."
Right.
Heaven knows.
I mean, and we and depending on the age, you're gonna come with some. You live a life. You're not showing up without something. But that goes back to those real conversations. Like, hey, here's what I'm showing. Let me unzip this bag, and then allowing that person to say, "Oh, zip it back. I can't handle all that." Or, okay, let's kind of go through this layer by layer and see how we can help each other.
Yeah.
You know?
I want to ask you a question. This is not in my notes. Because as I hear you talk, I have so many questions, and it's just like how many people, at least in your practice, how many people you think are aware of their personal wounds? What percentage would you say are aware of those?
That varies on if they have already tapped into, maybe some type of therapy prior to, but not very many because you have to understand when you come in a format of like a couple, a lot of times you're coming based off of a present thing, but you're not really, it takes talking through to figure out that present thing is rooted back to something that happened way back before. Or you're coming about something that you were talking about the dishes, but the dishes turned into something that happened many years before. So then when we go through checking through that, checking through that, checking through that, well, why does this bother? Well, what made that feel that way? What did you hear when that person said that? That's when you start getting, well, that reminded me of when I was younger and my dad, blah, blah, blah. And, or a lot of people come in and we have to do these psychosocial assessments. And it's not the most fun thing because we have to ask about your upbringing. And it's like, well, what does that have to do with this?
Yeah.
Like, you'll figure
You'll find out. Yeah, you're gonna keep running into
you'll
the same.
you'll figure out.
Yep.
You'll figure out because it can be. Well, I'm not even gonna say it because I don't think it can be cliche. It can be looked at kind of cliche to always say, "How were you raised? How were you brought up? Tell me more about your childhood. Tell me about your parents." But it matters. It matters.
That family of origin.
It matters. It just matters. And it definitely matters when you are conjoining yourself with another individual. If you saw different ways of relationships and just how interactions, you start to kind of model that, or maybe have an idea of what a man should be, or an idea of what a woman should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think a lot of times people fall in love with a version of someone or something that they seen on TV, like you said. They
Mm-hmm.
have this imaginary life and then they want to put it on you.
Yeah.
And then once they realize that you can't fit that mold, that's when Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. He
Yeah.
they couldn't put Humpty Dumpty back together again because the fall was
Mm-mm.
so great
Right.
because you realize that this person was human and we're all flawed. I like to say beautifully broken. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
just like to put that much of an expectation on one person is it's no one can carry that.
No. And that's why it's very important to have those conversations.
Hmm. Yep,
You know.
totally agree. And so since we were, what are some practical steps to start trusting again after betrayal?
Being open to identifying what that looks like for you. Like, and when I say that, like, if trust has been broken for you, it needs to be an individual thing of how we reestablish it. It doesn't need to be, well, this is just a one for all type thing. You know, if it's broken, then that kind of goes back to who you are and what makes you who you are. And so how do I regain? I should have to be I should be able to ask, how can I regain your trust? What would help you feel like you can trust me again? That goes back to the boundaries and expectations.
Yes.
Because if my needs far away what you feel like you can do, then that's another conversation. You know, because it may be a situation where it's like, every day when you get to work, I need you to call me and let me know that you're at work, and then put me on FaceTime and circle around. That, you know, for somebody, they may be like, okay, I'll do that.
Yeah.
And then for someone, they may be like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. So then we, you know, now, how do we get there? How do we get there? So to answer your question, I think is being honest with yourself. Like, what do you need? You know, I don't think that that's a I don't think that's a like a flat answer. Like, I can't just say we can reestablish trust if we do X, Y, and Z. That is you really being in touch with what your needs are.
Yeah. Yeah.
What will help you regain the trust?
Yeah, because if you're the one who broke the trust, I would imagine that if you really care for this person, right, that you'll do what's necessary. But I mean, within boundaries, though, 'cause like you said, they like, hey, I need you to do a 360 around your job and walk around the building and show me that, you know, there's no yellow Cadillacs in the parking lot because the chick you cheated
Right.
on me with had yellow, you know, all that stuff. That's too much. And then there's almost like there's almost, is there ever a date on like healing though? I mean, that's not saying that you got to be over it tomorrow, but like, when do you let it go? Do you believe in like, I'll forgive but not forget? Do you believe that school of thought?
Yeah, but forgiveness is also something that comes in phases. You know, like we have grief, and grief comes, you know, it's not a linear type thing. You know, you have the stages. Forgiveness comes in phases because you're going to have to come to a place of acceptance with forgiveness. You're going to have to accept that your trust was betrayed. This person that you love or trusted or whatever the case may be did something that went against, you know, whatever y'all vows or whatever the case may be. So you're going to have to accept it. You're going to have to accept that there's nothing you can do to change it. Then there's another part of it where you really need to sit, and this sometimes is hard because we can't take the blame for what people do, but we do need to sit and really evaluate what could have gone on to cause this, or you know, or is this more of an individual thing, or is this a relationship thing where we're not meeting each other's needs? Is this a thing where I kind of miss signs where this person, I don't know, like it's just so many different things. So to answer your question, I think you just have to be aware that you can't give up. Like, if I make a decision to forgive, I have to forgive, but I also have to be aware and accept that just because I forgive, that doesn't mean there won't be days where I'm fearful it'll happen again, or there won't be days where I'm, you know, unsure if what they're telling me is the truth. Uh, Two things can be true at the same time. I can be operating in forgiveness, but still working through the healing of what was done to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And trust can be broken because I think sometimes we limit trust to just like sleeping with somebody else, but
Mm-hmm.
trust can be broken in other ways too.
Oh yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
And the reason why I say that is because a lot of times that's kind of like the default setting when we talk about broken trust.
Yeah.
But there's so many other ways. It could be financial mistrust.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, it could be, just financial, work related, just all kind of things that when you put your trust in someone and you find out what you thought was is just not. That's a whole nother level of because then it's almost like getting to know a person.
Yeah.
I knew you based off of what I thought was true. Now I'm finding out so many things that aren't true or that happen, and now it's like, well, who are you?
Yeah, that is so good. So good. So how does unhealed trauma show up in new relationships?
That was one of them. you know, I mean, life
Yeah.
happens, but if what caused you? There's cause and effect to, a lot. Like what caused you to betray trust? Like where did that come from? Or are you operating out of uh, a one incident, or are you operating out of still trying to not be what you were told you were when you were younger? I think communication, heal trauma. How do you communicate? How do you hear? Do you hear to actually hear? Are you hearing to respond? Are you a yeller? Because in your household, everybody yelled, and you've never been taught that yelling is not the way to communicate. Do you lie because you were, fearful of what the consequences of telling the truth? So all your life you've been lying. Like that's another one where it shows up in just so many different ways. In unhealed trauma, let's be clear, because I'm using words like lie and stuff, and people can be like, well, how is that trauma? It's what caused you to feel like you have to lie. Did you start lying because if you told the truth, you get, you know, a whooping, and now you feel like the only way that you can get through is to lie to get, or if you're like hypersexual and you really don't want to cheat, but you have trauma, actual trauma that's never been dealt with, never been addressed, never been brought to the forefront, or something that you've like pushed to the back. So it can show up in so many ways that in so many little ways that are just so much deeper than the surface.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good because sometimes people think that a new relationship is going to, it's just like you're going to get this clean slate because I'm with
Mm-hmm.
somebody else, but you could be dating the same person with just different faces,
Right.
and so a lot of times it's just like people look be quick to just jump into a relationship, and next thing you know, a couple years later, you like, my ex was doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's that, yeah. So, and I
And
go ahead.
And Mr. Sean, that's another question that will come up when you say my ex was doing the same thing. Then why do we keep going back to the same type of person? And we all have done it, currently doing it, but it's like what trauma is causing you to keep being attracted to the same type of person?
Yeah, and that's an episode within itself.
Yeah.
That's a lot to unpack. Like,
Right, right.
yeah, that's a whole episode. I have to bring you back. Maybe we'll talk about that in detail. So why is it important to grieve past relationships before moving?
Because that's a lot of the healing will take place there. In those tears, in those questions, in those moments of separation, it's important to really process that, because in that processing, in that grieving, in that mourning, that the healing is there. A lot of the healing will take place there, because that's when you will have to look in the mirror. You'll have to dig deep and find out, by no means did you deserve to be treated that way, but where did you miss that you were being treated that way? What were you holding on to? What were you keeping faith or in this person for when you had so many red flags that were already present. So when you take that time to really grieve it and process it, then you can start seeing where here's what I know that I've learned. Here's what I found out about myself. Here's what I know I can't absolutely will not do in the next relationship. So you have to allow yourself to really go through that and really go through that tough period where it hurts. It like really, really hurts. But you gotta trust that other side. I gotta get to the other side.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good because I read a quote that said, time doesn't heal all wounds. It's what you do with that time that heals all wounds.
Yes, yes.
You know?
And that's true. And I always tell my clients it's not the absence of the emotion. You're human. You're going to have emotion. And I tell the teenagers this all the time because I think we can paint pictures that if you're good, you'll always have good things happen. And that's not reality.
Yeah.
That's false. So I always say it's not the absence of emotion. You're gonna have emotion. You're gonna have days where you're angry, you're sad, you're anxious. It's how you regulate it. How you regulate it. So learning how to regulate it is so much more important than trying to not feel it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what would be some techniques that you would say for regulating, because a lot of people struggle in that area. What would your piece of advice be to self-regulate?
Because I love a good coping mechanism. I do. What do you like? A lot of times, go back to what you did when you were younger. Did you used to like to color? You can color now just because you're 35. They didn't say don't color because you're 35. You can still color. You know, exercising, breathing techniques, grounding. We're in a world of self-care, but we need to understand that self-care goes deeper than nails, hair, makeup.
Yeah.
How do you care for yourself? This is where you're waking up and you're saying, what do I need? What do I need? What do I need more of? Do I need more family time? Do I need more outdoor time? Do I, when I'm angry, what helps me? We should know when we get in relationships, we should know what we need when we're angry. Your partner needs to know what you need when you're angry. If you need 5 minutes to yourself, I need to know that because I don't want to be prone to thinking because you walked off, I need to follow you. And then now I'm following you and we're having an argument about something else. Whereas if I know that's just what you need 5 minutes to go cool off, take some deep breaths, and you come back and join the conversation. So I just think we need to know, what do you need when you're angry? So to answer your question, that's self-awareness. So that's how you regulate. I have a sheet of 99 coping skills, and I tell everybody to pick out 5 and just try. Just try 5 of them and see where that 5 line up. And then we do a feelings matchup. And it's very elementary, but it works. So when you're sad, what do you need? Do you need to call a friend? Do you need to listen to Luther Vandross? Like, what do you need? When you're sad. That way, when you get in these relationships and you're sad, you don't feel like you're dismissed, but because this person didn't know that you needed that. So that's how we become aware of how to regulate emotions, by staying in tune with what our needs are.
That's good. And that takes a lot of introspective work and to know your spouse or your significant other way that works for them. Do they need a Twinkie? Do they need some chocolate chip cookies to calm them down? What does that look like?
And they, instead of showing up with chocolate chip cookies, they don't eat them. And now we're arguing over cookies. I didn't know. Why are we arguing over cookies? Now you in therapy over cookies. Because you didn't know that this person didn't need that, or this person needed cookies when they. So it's just, yeah. I really do think, and I think in the dating stage, you should be asking. I won't name names because I'm not associated with this church anymore, but this person used to always say in marital counseling, he would ask if they hadn't argued yet, he wouldn't see them. And I now as an adult, I really understand. Like, you need to know what triggers the person has. You need to know and how they manage.
That's
Yeah.
good. Oh,
Yeah.
so good. So good. So, what's one healing secret that you wish everyone afraid to love again understood?
One healing secret
Yeah, you wish everyone afraid to love again understood.
that you're worthy of it.
Mm,
You're worthy of love. Whatever you've been through, whoever hurt you, uh, you're still worthy of it. You're worthy of it, and you starting with yourself, knowing that, telling yourself you're worthy of it, knowing that loving yourself is just as much important as the other person that loves. But that's the secret. You are worthy of love.
yeah, love it. That's so good. Yeah, because a lot of times people, well, I guess we'll talk about that a little later. No, I love it, love it. I want to, because how time flies when you're having fun. I
Okay.
want to take, I want to do Chandrika Uncut, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is a segment where I ask you some random questions, and there's no wrong answer. Just let me know how, what works for you. But
Okay.
I want to take a quick second and say thank you to our sponsor at Love Fearlessly, 30 Card Intimacy card deck my wife and I created at scaredtoremarry.com/products. You'll see it in the description below. And so if you are dating, if you're newlyweds, these questions, they really get into the thick of things and some of the stuff that we discussed earlier, Chandrika. So I want to pull a card from the deck and I want to ask you a question. Okay. Question. Who provided a safe space for your feelings in childhood?
My parents.
Mm,
Yeah.
love it.
In childhood, definitely my parents, my mom and my dad.
And how do you feel like that has worked well for you in relationships?
I think it's worked well for me in relationships as far as knowing that those are safe places. But I think, and I've spoken about this before, so this would be a shock to my parents when me saying this. But it created another area where I had an idea of what I thought my life would be because of my parents. You know, my parents have been married now for like 57 years. So I thought that this is what relationships look like. This is what a man does. This is what a woman does. And that's just not. Their reality, their life was not going to be my reality, my life. And when you can separate that, you can start developing your idea of what you want in a relationship uh, instead of trying to, I guess, replicate
Yeah.
someone else's relationship.
Yeah. No, for sure. Totally understand. Totally understand. So, first question. What is the biggest mistake you see women make when it comes to dating?
Um, this is a good one because I've been having this conversation a lot lately. I'm going to speak on current day. I think current day, a lot of women, we want someone to see us the way that we see them. Therefore, we feel like we have to give chances to situations that just don't warrant your understanding. And it's good to be understanding. It's good to be empathetic. Those are great qualities. But when that understanding is now gonna affect your peace, then we have to really be make sure that we have to make sure we're understanding to understand and not understanding to fix or see potential, or yeah, he said this, but that doesn't mean that he won't, blah blah blah. But in the same breath, I think the list can be damaging too, because you want him to show up and you gotta have six pack, you gotta make six figures, and there are really great guys that have neither. Uh, so there is potential there, but we have to just, it goes back to being understanding and recognizing what those needs are. So I think what can be damaging is kind of twofold, like trying to be a little too understanding and then a little too dismissive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there was a lady I spoke to. We were at a vending event, and she was saying that she hosted this mixer, and she was saying that she's like, I love my sister. She said, but they would just cut you off in a New York minute. Like the first thing, if you didn't say the word right, they was cutting you off. Like you won't even give her brother a chance, and then say that there's never any good men.
Mhm.
So it's just like, that's heavy.
That's one element. Then the other element is the one that's, you just a little too honest.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah. I mean,
like, oh wow, like okay, yeah,
he gonna come around. He gonna get it together one day.
yeah, like, no, he said this, he meant it, he meant this, So I just think, and that's another thing, like having that support system, what we talked about earlier. Uh, it's good. It's good to have community. It's good to have, somebody that can say it's. And I really believe in it. And I know a lot of people don't believe in this, but I believe in male and female friendships, like strictly friendship.
I agree.
I have good male friends, and I think sometimes that perspective from a man you need. And I have great female friends too. Like the Lord has truly blessed me with great female friends. And I think that community of just really being able to be like people who know you, people who can be like, nah, come on, girl, you
Yep.
trip. Or, somebody be like, no, you really need to blah blah blah. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because sometimes that friend perspective, someone who really got your best interest, sometimes they can see some
Yes.
things. They like, hey, if you just stop doing this,
Yeah.
you'll be good. You know.
And people who also see your work when you can't see it.
Yes.
So, when you can't see it and they see it and they're like, no, I don't want you, or I don't want to allow you to feel like you should let someone make you feel this way, or you have to take this because of, and that's really good too.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Fill in the blank. My last relationship taught me.
That pain won't kill you. I can tell you that. Hurt don't last forever. Now, honestly, in all honesty, to self-reflect. Self-reflect. I can name 1,000 things that this person done or could have done, but I can also name a lot of things that I could have done differently. So I'm trying in my healing
Yes.
process. I am trying to step away from you, and okay, all of that was done, whatever. But what did I do? What could I do differently? What do I want to take into my next relationship? What did I learn from that? What changes do I need to make? Is the therapist the most effective communicator? So those are things that I'm that's why I feel in the blank.
Yeah.
Self reflect.
Yeah. No, no, I love it. That's good because the self reflection is important because a lot of times when people always my ex, they did this, they did that,
Mm-hmm.
and of course we both have thoughts that we made,
Yeah.
but to be reflective and be like, yeah, I could have course correct over here and there. I think it expedites the healing process. In
Right.
my opinion, because you taking that self accountability.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So what's harder for you to say? Is it A, I apologize, B, I need help, C, I love you, or D, I was wrong?
I need help. B.
Yeah.
B. I need help. Um, that's I don't know. I don't know if that's a black woman thing or but somewhere we have, black girl magic. There's a superpower there. I don't deny it, but there is this strength that we just carry like this, like I don't know, like it's some type of trophy.
Yeah.
And you need help, you need help. You need help, you need help. And I struggle with it. And it's part of being a helper. So if I'm a helper, does that show? I don't know. I don't know what it is connected to feeling like, well, are you gonna not trust me to help you if I need help? Uh so I try to really shy away from that. But that's rooted in being a helper. Like, okay, well, I don't want you to feel like I can't help you if I'm always the one that needs help. But
Wow. I never looked at it like that. That's interesting. Yeah, because I mean it's yeah, because I know I struggle with it too. But I will say, just from in my experience, when my wife says she need help, I just feel like I'm Superman. I mean, it can be something as simple as opening the mayonnaise jar,
right,
you know.
right,
But just to hear that, I'm like, oh, okay, like I got you,
yeah.
you know.
And I love that you just said that, because that type of support, uh that goes a long way. And that's a part of the safety that I had with my parents. My mom too, but my dad, I can is if he can do it, he gonna do it.
Yeah.
And you don't have to question. He say he gonna do it, he gonna do it. And when you grow up with that, and still even at this big age, he's still that to me.
Yeah.
It's you have, but that creates an expectation that I think I can put on other people that's not always fair. And
Mm,
so if you're not showing up that way, I'm interpreting that as you not showing up. Therefore, I'm not going to ask anymore. And that's just not that. That's not that's not realistic, and it's not fair.
wow,
You know.
that's heavy.
Because that person may not be in a position to do said things that this person can do. This person can fix it quickly because they have financial means or the
Mhm.
resources or the education, and this person, maybe the most they can do is hear your cries, hear your complaints. And I don't want to dismiss that because it doesn't look like this. So that's where all that self-reflection comes.
No, that's good. That's good because and yeah, I wish more people thought like that. Because I always ask the question, what's more important? Is it the family that you come from or the one you're trying to build?
Hey,
You know?
oh my God. You need to put that on a t-shirt. Oh my God.
Yeah, like which one is more important? Because
Oh, listen. You'll heal you will heal a lot of broken homes if you ask that question.
yeah, it's
Because especially when you saw it, you saw grandma and granddaddy, and they got through 92 years, and you like, yeah, it's just, yes. That's a good question.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it puts everything into perspective. It's like, are we trying to build our foundation or are we trying to build what my parents had, even though they're not us, but that's where you
Mhm.
come from?
Yes. And the fear, why, and this is maybe a whole nother topic for another day, but why do people fear defining their own relationship? Why do we fear that? Why do I fear telling someone that this is what me and my person do, and it's opposite of what you do? I don't know why we fear that. I don't know if it's tradition or what, but if we get together and we get married, and he and I decide that this is how we want to be married, I like I I don't follow her, but I saw a lady on TikTok. I don't know her name or anything, but her and her husband, they live separately. They tore that lady up in those
I know
comments.
you're talking
We like tore her up. And I'm like, yeah, that's what they choose to do.
Yep.
And she said that helps sustain their marriage.
Yep. I know he's talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I think a lot of us, I think we're used to what we used to and what we've seen and what we've been indoctrinated with. It takes a lot of faith to step out and say, this is how we are going to do it, let alone getting on the same page with your spouse. It's one thing if you like, this is the way I would like for our household to flow, but then for that to translate over to your spouse and for them to be on board, even though it might be the total antithesis of what they ever saw, it takes a lot of work. I think a lot of people would rather just jump on the train that they know that they've been on for years, opposed to trying to build something.
And we teach a lot of fairy tales, and we all can be kings and queens and princess and prince and still create what that fairy tale is for us. It We can't chase this idea of what it should be, because when it's not that, you know, you kind of level of disappointment, so attached to something that could have been beautiful, but because it didn't show up a particular way, it's like, oh well, I'll just wait on when it's going to be exactly how I want it. It doesn't always work that way.
Doesn't always work that way. Yeah, but that's that's another topic. That's another show. Last question.
Okay.
Is it easier to love yourself or someone else?
This is for me.
Yeah, that's for you. Yeah.
Okay. Someone else,
Mhm.
and I wouldn't. That's not anything I'm proud of, but it's easier for me to. I'm more of a cheerleader. I can see your work. I can cheer you through it. But with myself, I'm a little harder on myself than I should. So I have to really be in touch with giving myself grace.
Yeah, for sure. No, yeah, there's no wrong answer. No, totally get it. I mean, hey, we all have those things that we're dealing with. It's like, it's just so much easier just to support you, or
Well, you have to ask yourself, what have you made your identity? And I can tell you very early on, I made being this nice, understanding person my identity. And when I don't operate in that, it's like, oh, that's some type of failure, or will this person not like me? Or, so yeah, it's just so many layers to that again goes back to,
yeah,
child.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree, because I think about when I was younger, like you say, identity. A lot of my identity was, how many women can I get? How many women can I date? Like, my identity was wrapped up in trying to understand women, and when I
Yeah.
should have been working on me,
Yeah.
opposed to trying to chase women. And so it took me a long time for me to really know who I am, because it was so wrapped up in the chase
Yeah. Yeah.
that I was
I get.
lost.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. And even that was probably rooted in something else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had mommy issues growing up. And I just found this out like a couple years ago. And I was just like,
Mm.
oh, I see how this played into my first marriage. I was like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But you did the work. You did the work.
And it's
And let me tell people, let me tell your audience, black men go to therapy. They go to therapy. And I'm happy that they do. Yeah.
sure. Wow. Well, this has been a phenomenal episode.
Oh, thank you. I enjoyed it.
Yes, for sure. So, Chandrika, let everyone know how they can get in touch with you, how they can find you online, all of the good stuff.
Okay. So you can follow me on Instagram, TikTok at therapy underscore with Chandrika.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, therapy underscore with Chandrika.
Awesome.
And like one of the website, like for the counseling The private practice is iwincounseling.com.
All right. Well, I'll have everything linked in the description below. So everything will be hyperlinked. So to those who want to get in touch, make sure that you click those links below. As you can see, this has been a phenomenal episode. So make sure you go and follow her on those platforms. This has been a phenomenal episode. If you watch this video, if you rock with me for a couple of minutes, 10, 15 minutes, give us a like. If you're still here, there's people on TikTok still showing us love. I don't take your time for granted. Hit the like button, hit the like, subscribe. We just surpassed 5,000 YouTube subscribers.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. So it's been a grind trying to figure out this YouTube thing, but we're doing it. And so thank you to everyone who shows some support. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Share this with a friend. You never know who might need this content. This episode was, this episode is going to help somebody. And so if you are listening to this via Apple Podcast, make sure you leave a rating and review. By doing so, it puts you in a drawing for a free Amazon gift card. Who doesn't like free stuff? This is Sean Heineman with my special guest. I think it's this way. Chandrika. And we are out. Hold on, Chandrika. Don't hang up yet.
Okay.